Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. Over the past 7 years, we've understood what matters most to you, the entrepreneur. And in year 8, we're taking head-on two of your most pressing concerns, that of funding and mentoring. I'm Sunanda Jayasheelan. On the show tonight, to the influencers. First up is the Office. On the other side of a short break, we'll put the spotlight on Wonderschef. Let's kick off tonight's show then by welcoming in Amit Ramani of Awfis, joining us live on the show. Amit, good having you joining us on the show. You know, the co-working space has changed so much as we speak. So maybe we can start by talking about your vision and your role and your journey really as an entrepreneur, particularly in the co-working space.
So Nanda, thank you so much for having me on the program. I think I'll start with 2015 when the whole idea got germinated. And the focus was primarily on solving what was a clear business challenge in India, which was essentially around finding quality workspace at an affordable price. So we built it on kind of 3 principles. First being flexibility. So the user chooses the amount of time they want to use the space and the number of seats or the space that they want to use, right? Second being accessibility. So today, that goal is finally fulfilled, where we have close to about 35,000 seats across 70 centers, 10 cities. So essentially within a 15-minute driving radius, you have an office center, right? And the third essentially was the transparency, right? Essentially, you should be able to find a space which is affordable, but also comes without any hassle. So it's a plug and play environment where you can immediately go onto an app, select the space, and be in business, right? I mean, so those were the 3 principles that we worked on. Second aspect, which was very important, we saw this as a supply side solution. So we built the business in partnership with the landlords, wherein almost today about 67% of the business is in partnership with the landlord, which now in these times becomes very important, because obviously we benefited through the partnership when the times were good, but when the times are challenging, this is certainly helping us as well. So clearly a supply side strategy of managed aggregation, which got instituted in 2015, is now coming in handy as we are trying to, get over these challenging times.
I want to read out some figures, Amit. 2.2 billion by 2022 is what the kind of valuations that were previously estimated. And a penetration of the co-working space increasing from 0.7% in 2017 to 5.7% again in the same time frame of 2022. But this was done at a time when we, of course, no one could have predicted what was going to happen and the changes that were going to come about thanks to the pandemic. My question to you is, how much have those targets moved? What are the realistic figures that we're looking at this point?
Sure. So obviously the figures were built on a high growth trajectory that was happening in the economic environment. It was also happening in our industry in particular. Now, clearly the COVID challenge will have an impact. Now, currently, if I was to look at, this was March of 2020, as a business, as co-working industry, we were roughly about 2% of the total environment of commercial real estate, which was approximately about, I would say, about 20 million square feet across different operators and across some 200 different companies. Now, my perspective on this is that clearly the number of going to 5 to 6% would get slowed down a bit, because 6 months are going to be uncertain, like every business. We don't know when we'll be able to find the cure and the vaccine. So let's say, if it's a 6 to 9 month challenge and we are able to overcome it, we post that will see in fact higher growth as I see it today, and we see a V-shaped recovery for co-working. And the reason I would explain that is on 3 things, right? One, companies will look for flexibility. So they don't want to, in this uncertain environment, go and commit to a 6-year or a 9-year lock-in. So clearly co-working will benefit from that. Second, companies would want to transfer their capital investment requirements into an operating investment, right? And clearly co-working helps in that aspect. And clearly Office helps, because when companies are trying to do business continuity planning, where they are trying to ensure that not everybody is in one location, clearly strategies that we are adopting today, which is obviously you would have a base office, companies would have a base office, could be with AWFIS or some of their own office. Work near home, which would be a remote location, and hopefully that be an office location. And finally is work from home, what we are calling office at home. So if we are looking at these strategies, at least our sense is that the co-working industry will see a upsurge post the challenges are somewhat mitigated as we come with a cure and a vaccine.
You were just talking about work from home, Amit, and that's my next question. And I really want to understand from you, work from home can, of course, be seen as a serious challenge and competition, really, to those in your industry and business. How are you perhaps innovating? What's your view on work from home? Are you perhaps, using that then as a tool yourself when it comes to innovation?
Sure. So, Sunanda, I think two aspects. Our strategy always had been about network of spaces. So that's why we had 70 centers across 10 cities, right? Clearly, the focus was that I should have a center which is in the 15-minute driving radius across all micro markets, right? And we have it today across all the major metro cities. So work near home becomes a reality for people, and we will see a certain uptick from companies that will allow people not to spend 3 hours every day on commute, but be able to get to a center within a 15-minute driving radius. So we certainly feel there'll be an upsurge. Second, we have launched is what we are calling it office at home, right? AWFIS at home. And the focus for us is on three-pronged strategy there. One is on the assessment part, right? I think what everybody is missing in the industry today is that you have to understand, is the organization ready to adapt to work from home? Today, we are fighting a war against an unknown enemy. So everybody was forced to work from home, but organizations will have to understand, are they ready to allow individuals to work from home or the employees to work from home? Second is the manager readiness. And the third is the employee readiness. And our focus there is to assess all three elements for the overall readiness. And I think that's a missing link which nobody is talking about and will become very, very critical. And we have built our own tool that basically helps do that, right? It gives you a score for employer, it gives you a score for the manager, it gives you a score for the employee, and it's already launched. We're already working with multiple companies to help do that assessment. Second is the toolkit, right? It's office at home toolkit, which we have basically curated around the physical infrastructure. So many of us do not even have an ergonomic chair or a desk at home. So how do you ensure that availability? Second is the technology infrastructure, which is basically internet. It would be around the tools like what we are using, Zoom, Microsoft Teams, Google Hangouts, etc. So an integrated package that allows people to use that. And finally is full readiness at home, which means whatever amenities I have at the office, how can I recreate it at home through providing full-time IT support, providing other kind of change management support, etc. So that which our teams are working with organizations to do that. And the final is our application, which allows you to be connected from home. So it has a attendance management system that allows you to log in from home with geotagging capability. Second, it allows you to go work at a nearest center by having meeting room credits and work near the nearest center passes. And finally, it allows you to do multiple other things like a virtual coffee, like a virtual room where you can go hang out with your other team members, because you're trying to recreate you're trying to create the water cooler in a virtual environment, right? And we have built those tools and applications that help mitigate as much of that physical requirement as possible in a tech environment. So we have built that to, completely, it's out there. We are already working with companies on that solution.
Amit, how have you ensure the safety of your own employees, particularly in the business model that you're in? And once we do go back to what perhaps we need to call the normal, once the lockdown lifts, how do you ensure? How are you planning on ensuring the safety of your employees?
Sure. So clearly, from our standpoint, the safety and the wellness of our members, as well as our employees, as well as our extended partners, which are our security guards, pantry, etc., is of the utmost importance. So we have taken a kind of a three-pronged approach here. One in was the physical infrastructure. right? So there we are following social distancing norms by recreating the spaces. We are obviously including hygiene measures, which include, how people access the space, from basic things like thermometer scanning, with in terms of the cleaning protocols that we are following, in terms of how we can make access into the space as touchless as possible, right? So we have built an app that allows you to basically, instead of touching a card or a bioprint, basically allows you to scan a QR code to enter the space. Second, we have gone in and redone a lot of our air conditioning systems to essentially ensure that is as safe as possible, with using filters, with using fresh air inlets into the space. We are also working with our members to ensure that they are downloading the government guidelines through the Arogya Setu app, etc. So we are making many of those things, part of the process.
Some experts, reports that I was reading just before this interview are of the opinion that this is perhaps the end of the co-working model as we know it, and that virtual is where all the action is going to really be at now that particularly small businesses have seen the kind of work and the kind of innovation that can be done. I want to get your opinion on that.
So, Sunanda, I think I am absolutely in disagreement that this is the end of the co-working. In fact, this is the epiphany moment where we will pivot and become a larger industry. I'm extremely confident of that as we go forward. I think adapting to the new normal, as I described, a lot of things that we are doing in the short term to ensure the safety and the hygiene and the center readiness. So we are obviously going to follow all those norms. As we go forward, I think once we are able to overcome with a cure or a vaccine, I think people will come back to the physical infra. You can see that in many developed countries where they've opened post their lockdown, everybody wants to get back, right? So physical connect between human beings is at the core of our DNA. And we cannot live in a Zoom or a virtual environment forever. That just does not work with human beings. I'll give you a very simple example. In the US, which is an extremely developed economy, out of the 110 million workforce, only about 4 million people work from home, where homes are larger, technology has never been the problem, internet speeds are good, and so on. And even there, it's about 4% of the total workforce. So clearly, even in India, people will adapt work from home, people will adapt remote working, but they will also need the physical connect of coming into a physical environment. And clearly, in my opinion, co-working will see a resurgence as companies look for flexibility, converting their capital into an operating environment, and look for network of spaces that are closer to their homes. So I completely am on the opposite side. I think this is the eureka moment for co-working. People who adapt, people who innovate, are in fact are going to see an upsurge in their business.
Amit, thanks very much for your time here on the Leaders of Tomorrow.
Thank you.
Let's slip into a short break on that note. On the other side, we will be back with our second influencer, which is Wonderchef. Do stay tuned. Back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. Tonight, our second influencer is Wonderschef. Ravi Saxena of Wonderschef joining us on the show on Leaders of Tomorrow Live. Ravi, good having you here. You're a pioneer when it comes to the hospitality industry. And of course, what is really happening as far as the kitchen appliances segment is concerned. So good having you on the show tonight. My first question to you is, where you decided that this was the industry that you wanted to be associated with, the journey really behind Wonderchef.
Yeah. So me and Chef Sanjeev Kapoor have been partners for a long time. We did restaurants together. We did a lot of stuff together. And about 10 years back, we were sitting and we were talking that, he has revolutionized Indian cooking with his books. He is the highest printed author in India, actually. And, his books for last two generations have been inspiring Indians to cook at home and cook better at home. So we thought, why not empower them to cook healthy and tasty at home? So the whole idea was to somehow inspire people to cook healthy at home. And for that, we realized that we need world-class appliances and cookware in India. This was lacking. This is an opportunity gap that I identified in the market, especially when it came to good mixer grinders or blenders, and also when it came to good quality non-stick cookware. So this is how we started the company 10 years ago. We started manufacturing our cookware in Italy and to world-class standards, European standards of excellence. We brought an innovation in the Indian market with our NutriBlend, which has become now the number one blender mixer grinder in India. And based on these two pillars, we built a company which is now about 450 products strong. We are the thought leader in this market. We have brought many innovations. So the ethos of the brand is innovation and quality, whether it is the automatic pressure cooker, whether it is the cold press juicer, whether it is the air fryer, ovens. Wonderchef has been the first one to bring these new technologies into the country and into Indian homes. So yes, I think we have been very happy with our journey thus far.
Several businesses which are relying either entirely or almost entirely when it comes to e-commerce and online retail have seen a severe impact because of coronavirus, because of the pandemic, and not being able to sell online. What has been the impact on your industry and your business?
Well, this, as we call it, the Black Swan event, which has happened, has had an incredibly terrible impact on the whole industry. Look, there are two aspects. If I break it down simply, there are two aspects to the whole thing. One is the impact on the overall consumer sentiment and the economy, and the other is our industry in particular. I would say the first one, everyone knows it's a terrible thing to happen. A whole lot of people will lose their jobs. A whole lot of industries will shut down at least for some period of time. And unless supported well by the government, unless supported properly by the whole economic infrastructure, some of the companies will be gone forever. And that is sad because that hurts consumer sentiment and overall spending in the market will be lower. Having said that, for our industry, which stands for cooking at home, well, there is positive news because, and I'm not very happy about that, let me tell you, because this positive news comes on the back of some negative news for other industries like hospitality. A whole lot of restaurants are shutting down. I have run restaurants in the past. I own some restaurants. So I know the impact this thing is having on the restaurant sector, hospitality sector. And these are crowded places by definition. We want to go to places which are crowded, which are buzzing, and that is a long way off now. I would imagine at least 6 months to 1 year, nobody would want to go to an AC place which is crowded. And so there will be a bias for home cooking. And when it comes to home cooking, yes, it is positive for us. I can share with you in all this mess that we had in the last 2 months, the lockdown that we had, which was good for the country, messy for the economy, very messy for the businesses. Our sales are all-time high. How are they all-time high? Because we also sell on internet. We sell a lot on our website, and we also sell on TV shopping on our channel Food, which is Chef Sanjeev Kapoor's own channel. Uh, our sales on these two properties have gone through the roof, about 10 times of normal, because the shops are not working. So on our properties, our website, and on our TV shop, in TV shopping, sales are 10 times of normal. And we have been able to recover most of the sales loss that has happened on the previous channels, on the other channels.
So let's talk specifically about your business. I'm just looking at reports that has said that you have at Wonderchef identified the cookware and kitchen appliances market to be around 22,000 crores. You have about 1.5% of that market share right now. How much of those targets, how much of those figures have seen an impact because of the pandemic?
Yeah, very relevant question because we are just about in the beginning of the new financial year, and we all have our 3 year and 5 year plans in place. We have the first year budget in place. For sure, we are questioning that budget. I mean, These are unpredictable times. So yes, all this is forcing us to question our budgets. At the same time, when I see the energy in the consumers to consume slightly more premium goods like ours, because look, we are talking about RTG. Everybody speaks to their own target group. I am probably not targeting 100% of Indians. I am probably targeting about top 20, 25% of Indian population. And when they're cooking at home, they're realizing that they need good stuff and they're buying Wonderchef a lot. So particularly for us, for Wonderchef, we are not moving our targets. We are sticking to our budgets that we had before the COVID era. And I think we will be able to achieve them. But I cannot say the same thing for a whole lot of other industries.
A lot of industries that we've been speaking with here, Ravi, have been telling us that they've been asking for formal financial assistance from the government to overcome really the impact that they've seen from the COVID. My question to you is, is there an industry for the cookware and appliance and kitchen appliances segment really? Are you perhaps asking for any sort of financial assistance from the government?
Personally, I am against financial assistance in a country like India. I think India is still dependent a lot on foreign investment, on foreign deposits, FIIs. And if we do not take care of our fiscal discipline, we can lose all that. Our ratings will go down, and we all know what will happen. So I'm not in favor of reckless support. We cannot be USA, we cannot be Europe. Just remember that our per capita is about 30 to 40 times lower than these countries. So we cannot ride the same bandwagon. So my request to the government and my expectation from the government is not that of support. What I only want them is to facilitate the reopening of business for the current businesses. When it comes to the approvals to open up warehouses, open up logistics, open up factories, we should not go back into the bureaucratic era of the license Raj. It should be automatic. It should be automatic registration. And then, yes, one can come and check and one can police all they want, whether we are following the norms or not. But today, I must put on record, it's the other way around. Today, we have to stand in long lines and we have to seek permission, even if we have to send a single guy to a shop or to our warehouse. And I think that will really harm the industry. So I think we have to address that. And we are not seeking support. We are seeking facilitation of doing our own business. That is the step one. There is step two to it. As we all know that every single country on earth, every single large company on earth today is sourcing from China. And everybody will try to address this China plus one policy. They would want a fallback option out of China should something like this repeat again. And I think, everybody knows that India has had many chances. We have lost many chances. I think this is probably one of the last big chances we will get, and we should not let it pass by. And that is where the government's role comes in at all levels, at the central level, at the federal or the state level, at the municipal level, at the tehsil and district level, that we have to make sure that we attract a lot of foreign investment in manufacturing sector in India.
All right, Ravi, we unfortunately have to leave this conversation at that. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Completely out of time on this episode of Leaders of Tomorrow. If you have any feedback for us, our contact details is up on your screens in just a moment. Do let us know what you thought of tonight's interviews. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.